Sometimes the people who should stand by you are the first to walk away. For Victor Crane, loss came like an avalanche. First his wife, then his home, then every trace of security he'd ever known. He stood in the overgrown driveway of a decaying farmhouse that hadn't known life in 30 years, clutching a battered suitcase and the last piece of his world, his daughter, Petra. The house sagged under the weight of time, its roof caved in the middle, ivy crawling over shattered windows like veins on an ancient corpse. Yet, as thunder rolled across the hills, Victor whispered, "It's standing. That's something." This was all that remained after Diane's death, after her parents blamed him, after the bank took their home, after pity turned to contempt. Petra had chosen him when everyone else turned away, 24 years old and defiant, refusing to abandon her father. Now standing before Augustus Crane's forgotten house, the one place left unclaimed by the world, they faced a new beginning buried in dust and silence. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of mildew and rot. Furniture stood ghost-like beneath mold-stained sheets, and the floor groaned with every step, as if the house remembered them. When Victor pried open the basement door, the smell changed, deeper, colder. He didn't yet know that beneath those cracked boards waited something vast, something his grandfather had kept hidden not just from the world, but from history itself. The days that followed blurred into labor. Victor rebuilt what he could, patched leaks, sealed windows, fought back decay with the stubborn hands of a man trying to reclaim his dignity. Petra worked beside him, laughter breaking the gloom in rare, precious moments. But one evening, while clearing the basement floor, Victor's crowbar struck iron. A hollow clang echoed through the damp air. Beneath the rotted wood, he uncovered a square of cold metal, 3 feet across, sealed with a rusted combination lock. A trapdoor. Petra knelt beside him, breath shallow. "Why would Grandpa hide something like this?" she whispered. Victor didn't answer, couldn't. He'd barely known Augustus beyond the quiet summer visits as a child, the scent of turpentine and varnish clinging to the man's hands. An art restorer, meticulous, patient, always distant, the kind of man who carried secrets in his silence. For 2 days, Victor tried to ignore the door, but every creak of the house, every flicker of wind through cracked windows seemed to whisper from below, "Open me." When they finally found his grandfather's old journal, hidden in a desk drawer bound in cracked leather, the truth began to bleed through its pages. Augustus had written of a responsibility too great for one lifetime, of preserving what others would destroy, and, near the final pages, 4 numbers scrawled in deliberate ink: 7392. That night, as the storm raged above, Victor turned the dials. The lock clicked, and the door opened like a wound. The air that rose from below was cool and dry, ancient, untouched. Lantern in hand, Victor descended the stone steps, Petra close behind. What the light revealed stole their breath. Crates stacked 2-3 high, canvas-covered frames leaning against the walls, sculptures shrouded in cloth, filing cabinets lined the far wall, their labels faded but legible. Every inch of the chamber spoke of purpose, of curation, not chaos. Victor pried open a crate and gasped. Inside lay a small Renaissance portrait, colors alive beneath centuries of varnish. Not a reproduction, real. Every crate he opened revealed another wonder: marble busts, bronze sculptures, gilded manuscripts, ceramics glowing like frozen fire. "Dad," Petra whispered, "what is this?" Victor stared at the collection, awe and fear twisting together. "I think Grandpa saved them." The journal had hinted at a sacred trust, a vow to protect what was priceless. Now Victor understood. Augustus Crane hadn't been hoarding wealth. He'd been hiding history itself. But why? Why bury it here? The answer came as Victor uncovered another folder, a faded label that read Devo Estate 1952. His pulse quickened. The Devo collection, the most valuable private art collection in America, had been presumed destroyed in a fire 70 years ago. He looked at Petra. "This isn't just art, this is the Devo collection. A treasure lost to legend, now lying beneath their feet." When Victor's old friend Alistair Peaton arrived, an art historian with gentle eyes and a scholar's skepticism. Everything changed. One look at the paintings and he went pale. "Victor," he whispered, "this could be worth hundreds of millions." But with wonder came danger. The Devo fire wasn't an accident. It was arson. And the man behind it, Thaddeus Harrington, had built a dynasty on the ashes. Augustus had uncovered the truth and stolen the collection to protect it, hiding it from thieves who'd killed to possess it. His journal warned they will come for it. They always do. That night a black sedan appeared on the road, engine idling, lights off. Watching. Petra's voice trembled. "Dad, someone's out there." The next morning he found the letter, sealed in plastic, addressed in his grandfather's hand. "Open only if they come for it." Inside, Augustus confessed everything. The fire, the murder, the theft covered by false wills. The collection had been meant for charity, for museums. Harrington had buried the truth. And now, after 70 years, his descendants still searched for what Augustus had taken. By sundown, Victor's phone rang. A calm woman's voice said, "My name is Margot Ashton. I know about the Devo collection, and I can help you." Her grandmother had died in that same fire. Now she wanted justice. "Meet me," she said, "before they find you first." They met at a coffee shop in town. Margot, sharp-eyed, exhausted, carrying 20 years of research in her satchel. She laid out the files, FBI memos, suppressed evidence, names long forgotten. The Harringtons weren't just thieves. They were murderers in suits, their wealth built on blood and ash. "Your grandfather saved everything," she said. "If we expose them, it will destroy them." But when Victor returned home, the back door hung open. Footprints in the mud. Petra's voice shook. They tried to break in. The war had begun. Margot, Petra, Victor, and Alistair formed a fragile alliance, joined later by attorney Sylvia Pritchard, a woman with the fire of someone who'd stared down giants before. Within days, the Harringtons struck first, filing a lawsuit claiming Augustus Crane had stolen their property. Newspapers erupted with headlines. Victor was branded a thief, a liar. The sedan outside returned, parked silently through the night. But instead of fear, Victor felt something new. Resolve. "Grandpa fought alone," he told Petra. "We won't." In that decaying house, surrounded by the treasures of lost time, a family prepared to stand against an empire. The truth had slept long enough. The courtroom smelled of oak and old battles. At one table, the Harringtons, silk suits, polished smiles, and lies polished to perfection. At the other, Victor and Petra, worn but unbroken. Randolph Hargrove, his father-in-law, sat with the enemy, his betrayal complete. The opposing attorney's voice was honey and poison, painting Augustus as a thief who'd profited from tragedy. But then Sylvia rose. "Your Honor," she said, "this isn't a case of theft. It's the exposure of murder and fraud spanning 7 decades. She unveiled the original Devo will, authenticated, airtight, and the forged documents that proved Harrington's guilt. Then came Augustus's voice from a cassette recorded in 1989. "I broke the law to serve justice. I protected what others would destroy." His confession echoed through the room like a prayer. The silence that followed was absolute. When Judge Holloway's gavel finally fell, her words were clear and final. "The Harrington claim is dismissed with prejudice. The Crane family acted in preservation, not theft. The collection belongs to its rightful inheritor, Victor Crane." Across the aisle, Cornelius Harrington's empire began to crumble. The truth had found its voice, and for the first time in 70 years, justice had a name. The world descended upon the Cranes. Museums called, journalists begged, history itself seemed to awaken, but Victor remained grounded. He made one demand. The collection would be public, never sold, never hidden again. The Metropolitan Museum offered a new wing, the Augustus Crane Legacy Gallery. The centerpiece would be the masterpiece once thought lost to fire, restored to its full glory. When the gallery opened, the plaque beneath it read, "Protected in secret for 70 years by Augustus Crane, guardian of truth." The Harrington dynasty collapsed under federal investigation, their fortune dissolved by the same greed that built it. Randolph Hargrove vanished from headlines, his reputation in ruins. Yet Victor found no pleasure in their downfall. His victory wasn't revenge, it was redemption. The house that once represented exile was now alive again, repaired, restored, reborn. One night Petra asked, "Do you regret it, Dad? Not taking the money?" Victor looked around at the warm light spilling across the walls and smiled faintly. No, some things aren't for sale. The ghosts were gone. In their place stood legacy, honor, and peace, the inheritance Augustus had truly left behind. On the night of the exhibition, the museum glowed like a cathedral. Victor stood before the masterpiece when the painting worth $500 million, and saw more than art. He saw everything they'd fought for: justice, truth, family. An elderly woman approached, eyes bright with tears. "Your grandfather saved beauty from dying," she said. He nodded quietly. Later, when he took the stage, his voice carried through the silent hall. "My grandfather wasn't a hero," he began. "He was a man who did what was right when no one else would. He believed integrity means doing the hard thing even when it costs you everything." The crowd rose in standing ovation, the sound echoing through marble halls like thunder. Months later, back in Nau, the house where it began, Victor finished his grandfather's catalog. Every piece, every note preserved for generations. He wrote one final line: "Legacy isn't about what you keep. It's about what you protect." He looked up at Augustus's photograph on the wall and whispered, "We did it." Outside, the wind moved through the trees like a sigh of relief. The house was no longer broken. It was alive. And for the first time in his life, so was he. If this story moved you, if you believe truth still matters in a world that sells it cheap, share this story. Leave a comment. Subscribe for more stories that remind us some things must be protected at all costs.